Welcome to No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. It is time for another of our rankings breakdown shows. Last week, we talked about our quarterback rankings, which means naturally we are moving into running back rankings. Every single day, we are getting closer to your fantasy draft. And for this episode, we are going to break down for you some of the strategies you might want to use around running backs and some of the players we like and dislike when it comes to the position. Let's get into it. What is up? Welcome to No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. Ryan Weiss, still in the host seat, just a different background this week as I am visiting friends and family, and it is another packed house. The same folks you saw from last week. I will introduce them to you in the order they appear on the screen. Josh Hudson, my all-time co-host on Wednesday night. How are you doing, my friend?
Just Andy. This is one of my favorite episodes because running backs are always such a debate amongst people that love to start with 3 or 4 running backs in their first 3 rounds. And then there's people like Joel who think that they all suck.
I'm gonna push back on that.
I feel like I'm wrong.
And I'm going to push back on that a little bit because I've done a ton of mock drafting with Joel this season.
I know he's starting to make a turn, but I'm leading into the bit here, okay?
Yeah, I changed the show because we didn't have the gimmick we had last year, and we'll get into that in a second. But in the center of the screen, Austin Amendolia, who has not been able to join me on Saturdays, and we're not even doing a show this Saturday, but I still get to see your face on Wednesday night. How are you?
I'm doing great, and it's funny we're talking about the different running back strategies because I was a 0 RB hater for many years while it was
and you're
cool.
Like buying in this year.
And this year I have something ridiculous like 40% exposure to Braylon Allen in my underdog drafts, which is all you need to know that I'm in on the 0 RB strategy this year.
And as we were talking for years, Joel Worth, welcome to the show, has been my 0 RB guy. This is the first year where you and I are doing so many shows together because we brought you into the mock draft show on Saturdays. And I've noted this on the show. You have not been the 0 RB guy.
No, I haven't. And we talked about this. I think like Ben Gretsch just kind of perfectly summed up 0 RB for me when a couple of weeks back he was on a podcast and said 0 RB shouldn't be something you try to do. It should be a tool you have in your box when the room kind of feeds it to you. Because, I mean, if you think about it, if the room is forcing RB, you don't want to be like forcing in behind them and leaving them all the receiver value that they're giving you. So, yeah, I think that kind of brought it into, and just the league is changing around me. So, like the sands are shifting. So I can't, if I try to force, it's quicksand. Like if I try to force and swim my way out, I'm just going to get dragged down. I gotta go with the flow, really.
There you go. We're going to talk a little bit about the strategy to kick the show off, but I want to give a lot of warm welcomes to the chat. We got Caesar, Vince Mapstone, Zach's in the chat. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you are new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, drop into the comments. Let us know your strategy when it comes to running backs. Vince said, we're going to, we got multiple Vinces now. Vince Vargas said it's going to be RB heavy for him, and we're going to talk about what that might mean in just a few moments. Zach said, it's been a long day. He's ready to talk some football. Hope you're ready to talk RBs because he said there's not enough good ones this year to mess around with 0 RB. And Vince Mapstone from Down Under. Welcome, buddy. I was going to skip training camp news all along. Actually, before I get into that, have you joined our Discord yet? Josh is going to drop the link right now. You are wasting time if you are not in the damn Discord yet. It's free. We talk fantasy. We share our best ball rosters. When the season rolls around, Austin helps make you money by giving you his cash lineup every week. Make sure you guys are in there. It's time to keep this thing rolling. We always share our articles there first. We share the invites to our mock drafts first. I was going to skip training camp news because I forgot to do it, and it's been a very busy day. But Josh said, look, man, there is one piece of news that the Club Fantasy audience needs to hear about. Darren Waller is officially a Carolina Panther. And for some of our longtime listeners, you may remember an episode 4-6 weeks ago where like 8 people jumped into our chat and said Darren Waller has signed with the Panthers. fantasy football is over. And I thought it was real. Josh immediately recognized it as a troll. But apparently they were from the fucking future because Darren Waller has signed with the Carolina Panthers. Does anybody have any thoughts on Waller to the Panthers? Josh, you had one brief thought. So
yeah, I mean, this fulfills the big, tall outside threat that Chris Brazzell was drafted to be. That's kind of the way that I look at this. I don't think it's much of anything. I don't think he's going to have the same kind of red zone presence that he had in Miami. But when you have a short quarterback, he needs tall players that can get up and get the ball and snatch it out of the air. So just kind of makes sense that Carolina has spent much of the last few seasons trying to put pieces around Bryce Young that are significantly taller than he is.
Yep. Austin, Joel, you want to polish this turd at all?
I mean, I feel like we've fallen into the Darren Waller trap a couple of times over the past couple of years. I'm not really like, going out of my way to draft him. What really makes me sad about it is I'm like a big Mitchell Evans guy. I liked him coming out of the draft last year. And so the fact that they've signed Darren Waller is kind of a bad sign, given that they are interesting tight ends on their roster. So whatever, it'll be another year or two, or maybe it'll never happen if you're waiting for the Mitchell Evans breakout. But for the Panthers, I'm like, yeah, they just need bodies. Like to Josh's point, they need bodies and they need big bodies because Bryce Young ain't one of them.
Yeah, maybe he can stand on Waller's shoulders. That'll help everybody, right? Let me address the topic and then we will get into the running backs. Zach asked if we are going to be running 5 days a week this season. We are not. I know for at least we are skipping Monday this year. So it has been a good run on Monday. Josh is very busy. I am very busy. It was really just me and Josh. So we're not going to do that anymore. But Josh, we are still on Tuesdays for our waiver show.
Yeah, waiver will still be Tuesday, NPI Wednesday nights. Sneaky Girls Thursday. You Austin and I probably still doing the Oh Captain My Captain DFS Showdown videos. You guys doing DFS Academy.
Yep. Starts at a different day, and then
I'll get with Jay. I'll get with Jay about Saturday mornings. But yeah, well, the schedule will be full, Zach. We promise.
I will just say that you just named 5 days of the week.
There you go. See, look at
that. So we were 6 days of the week last year. We're actually going to 5 days of the week, and then he wants a dad joke show for Vince.
I think that
I am not the person for that show. I promise you.
Just Josh, Ryan, Joel, and I talking whatever.
I like it. One of these days that might be fun in like the off season. Definitely, it will end immediately in August because it's too much, man.
Isn't that what our live draft show just turns into at the end of the draft?
That's true too. It's all chaos. All right. Let's get into this. Before we jump into the RB top 12, I don't want to spend a lot of time here because this show's going to run long because they always run long. I do want to just explain RB draft strategies. And the reason I say that is there are 3 main ones to employ, and we're going to talk about all of them throughout the show. We've already kind of talked about all of them. So I'm just going to keep it on topic, and I'm going to go Josh to talk robust, Austin to talk hero, Joel, I'm going to let you explain zero. Just kind of give the rundowns, Josh, to it. If you buy into robust, what it means, and if you buy into it, sort of thing. So.
Yeah. My 2 favorite strategies are the hero RB and robust RB. So for me, it's pretty simple. Your robust RB, you're looking at least 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds, if not 4 in the first 4 rounds. Take them all, because at the end of the day, some of them are going to get hurt. For me, it just boils down to what your settings are. Your traditional fantasy football leagues are usually start 2 running backs and then only 1 flex spot. We are starting to see more leagues sort of venture into this territory of adding a second flex spot, especially if they're only starting 2 wide receivers versus 3. But if you can only start 3 running backs, to me, there's no need to go 4 in your first 4 rounds. But having that extra piece is definitely something that you want. But grabbing those first 3 immediately off the rip, that is how you build a fantasy team with a robust strategy.
Well, Vince is bought in because he says he's taken 6 running backs in the first.
That is music to Joe Zolo's heart, right there.
Yeah. Austin, hero running back kind of came after zero running back, but I think for the sake of explaining it, it's a little bit easier to explain it in this order. So talk to us a little bit about hero running back and if it's one you buy into.
Yeah, so hero running back, you'll also hear it referred to as anchor running back, where you get your first running back in the first round, maybe the second round, depending on how it falls. But essentially, you're getting one of the top 5 running backs, depending on where they go on ADP. And then you wait and get your second running back way later. You kind of stack up on some receivers. Maybe you target the onesie positions in those first 4 or 5 rounds. And essentially what you're trying to, I think part of what you're trying to accomplish there is you're getting whoever the RB1 or top 3 RBs are going to be. And then you're trying to find that back end RB2 and take some of the elite receiver talent while other people are taking the other running backs. So it's a strategy that I like. I mean, I will play all 3 of these strategies, just to be clear. And it, like Josh said, it depends on format. I like hero RB in redraft leagues. I like it more than zero RB in redraft leagues in particular. I don't do a lot of zero running back in redraft. In best ball, I love hero and zero running back.
Yeah.
I'm rarely doing robust running back in best ball leagues.
Such a good point.
But it depends also just on what your draft slot is and how ADP lands and all that. So I have all 3 of these strategies and what I've drafted so far.
And Joel, you kind of gave all your best points earlier in the show when I was anointing you the former king of zero RB. But if I was ever going to have someone explain zero RB, it's you. And I love what you said about letting zero RB come to you. So.
Yeah, I mean, you could do an entire show on zero RB theory. So, we talked about it being a tool in your box. You need to know how to use your tools for them to work properly. So basically, like fundamentally, you understand. You have to understand that you're going to be bleeding points to the teams that draft RBs heavy. So you cannot be giving up points at any other position. You need to have strong quarterback. You need to have strong tight end. You can't just be. I'm going to take all the wide receivers. Yeah, you can't be giving up. You can't be seeding points in any of those other positions. So you have to understand your team is not going to look sexy. It's not going to be something you put on Twitter or whatever. It's like, look at this great team. It's a team that's going to make it through the season, and just. Because at some point in most leagues, in most seasons, there's going to come a time around like week 8 or whatever your heavy bye week is, where like everybody hates the running backs. And if you were the team that didn't invest too much draft capital in running backs, then you're ahead. So if that doesn't happen, like it has in the last couple of years, then you're in trouble. But yeah, again, and scoring is the other thing. In very touchdown heavy formats, it's really tough to go zero RB. You got to understand your scoring.
Yeah. A lot of people in the chat letting us know your flex spots. Joel, I think knowing how many flex spots you have is one of the most important things for zero RB, because you want to make sure in that theory that you are starting wide receivers in your flex spots. Like that's the kind of the main.
Yeah. You want to receive in your flex spot, and then you want to stop basically, because you maybe get one more for depth or bye weeks or whatever, but you do not want to be drafting like eight receivers in when you want to get your 5 or 6 elite guys, and then that's it. You're done. So
yep.
You need to understand
Vince points out another great point for all of these strategies. He says in his home league, he tends to go robust because he knows he cannot trade for running backs in that league, whereas other positions, there's usually a trade market, so.
Your league. I talk about this every single summer. Know your league, because all the advice that you get, whether it's our show, another show, articles on other sites, what have you, none of it means anything if you can't actually execute it in your particular home league.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our top 12. So what I'm going to do this week, because I listened back to last week's show and I did not like throwing the ECR out after every player. It just sounds terrible. I'm going to point out the 1 or 2 players where we are very much higher than the ECR is. So I'm going to give you our top 12, and then I'll have a couple of notes before we actually start to talk about these guys. So for the Club Fantasy Consensus top 12, right now it is the 4 of us who are a part of our consensus. Bijan Robinson is number 1, Jahmyr Gibbs at 2, Christian McCaffrey at 3, Jonathan Taylor at 4, Saquon Barkley at 5, De'Von Achane at 6, Ashton Genty at 7, Chase Brown at 8, James Cook at 9, Omarion Hampton at 10, Derrick Henry at 11, and Breece Hall is our RB12. You will find all of these rankings at clubfantasyffl.com. They are live on the site right now. I mentioned a few players that we were well ahead of ECR. Number one is Saquon Barkley. We have him as our RB5. The ECR, the expert consensus, is RB10 right now. De'Von Achane, we are 2 ahead, and Breece Hall is the only player in our top 12 that does not appear in the consensus top 12. When I start these shows, I like to look for a player that I think you guys care the most about right now. And I don't think there's much debate about this based on the last couple of shows we've been running. The world wants to know what in the world, how to treat De'Von Achane. I feel like every piece of media I see on Achane is that he is a trap and we are down on him. Clearly at Club Fantasy, we are not. So he is the ECR 8. He's our 6. I'm going to let Josh and Joel start on this, and then I'm going to come to Austin because, Austin, you have him at least a little bit closer to ECR, so I'll be interested to hear if there's any pushback. Josh, you are our resident De'Von Achane guy. I would be remiss if I did not start with you.
Yeah, so I've been calling on Achane to be this top guy for the last couple of years. He finished high last year, and actually I think I had him higher in my rankings than he finished, but it was still seemingly a surprise to people. But he currently is my RB5. The biggest reason, look, name me a Miami Dolphins wide receiver. Most people, the average fantasy football player, cannot. We know De'Von Achane's ability as a pass catcher. He is likely going to be the Miami Dolphins' #1 target. That alone vaults him up fantasy rankings. Now, when I look at how efficient he was in his rookie season, and everybody was clamoring the fact that, oh, he's going to see more carries, the efficiency is going to fall off a cliff, blah, blah, blah. The efficiency did drop. It was expected to. The man averaged over 7 yards a carry his rookie season. But you know what? He still scored touchdowns. And while he finished with under 5 yards per carry, he still finished as the RB5 in fantasy football. He's going to see roughly a ton of carries this season, too. There's the big quote about Jeff Hafley saying that, you know, he's going to carry Achane off the field after feeding him the football 40 to 45 times. That is some coach speak that, while we love to hear, it's definitely not going to happen. Let's be real here. But he's going to see plenty of carries still. This is going to be a very run-centric team. And when they pass, they're not going to have anybody else to throw to but De'Von Achane. Targets over carries all day, every day. But when you have somebody who has the ability to score touchdowns, as De'Von Achane has proven through 3 years in this league, the rest of the offensive nature, in my opinion, goes out the wayside. This is still a top-end, top 5 running back in fantasy football. And if people are letting him slip in drafts because they think that the Dolphins' offense is cheeks, this is your reward.
Yeah, and that perfectly leads into Joel, because Joel, you've been saying everybody's been overreacting, that the Dolphins offense isn't even going to be as bad as they believe it's going to be.
Yeah, I think we hit on this last week when we talked about Malik Willis, but I know it's me and the volleyball name Wilson on all alone on the Dolphins aren't going to be as bad as you think, and they might actually be pretty good, Island, but they're going to have just hitting on the things that Josh did not. They're going to have a very good offensive line. It's going to be probably one of the biggest in the league. They're probably going to be very good. They've got one of the best centers in the AFC and all the good centers in the AFC. So they got one of the best centers in the league. They got Bobby Slowick at offensive coordinator, who tried to just run the hell out of the ball in Houston. He's got a mobile quarterback. They're going to RPO teams to death. Yeah, this whole overreaction to Josh said he's one of the most efficient players in the history of the league. Like going back to like Jim Brown, he's that damn good. Just stop. He's going to be just fine. Is there going to be a little bit of a ding on his targets because Malik Willis is a mobile quarterback? Probably. But
I still have him at 89.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit of a ding, but he's still going to get a lot more than Ken Walker. I'll tell you that much. So I have zero concern about Achane. None.
Austin, again, I don't want to paint this picture that you are down on Achane. You are just the most moderate voice in the room. You're the only one of us to not have him in your top 5.
That's because he's the quietest of all 4 of us. Let's be honest here, Ryan.
Sure. Look, while I am the lowest and it's only RB8, I've drafted 0 De'Von Achane so far this
interesting.
year, and I think it's because I hate it at his ADP, and I feel like Joel and Josh are dancing around the elephant in the room around it, which is that Tua Tagovailoa is not the quarterback there anymore. Part of the reason De'Von Achane was getting so many catches over the past couple of years was because of Tua.
Yeah.
Every time that Tua was starting, you could smash De'Von Achane's receiving over for receptions. Literally, it would be set at 5.5. I would check Tua starting, hit the over, cash money every single freaking time because Tua dumped it off all the time. Malik Willis is not going to need to dump it off that way. He's going to run the ball too. And I do think that's going to impact De'Von Achane. I also, frankly, like, we're going to get into this with some other players, but I think De'Von Achane, because of his body size, is always an injury risk and a risk to not play a full 17-game season. And so I bake that into my rating of him a little bit.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm down on him, and I'm not as optimistic on the Miami Dolphins offense in general too. So it's like you add in fewer touchdowns, you add in fewer catches, and a smaller body size, and I'm kind of out at the ADP.
That's fair. Even if this offense only scores 20 touchdowns, bet that De'Von Achane scoring 10 of them. Like that's
still a decline over last year, though.
I will take a running back that can score double-digit touchdowns. I don't care. They are so few and far between.
He scores a lot of touchdowns. I'm in on him. I didn't even knock his receptions that bad. I just want to let the chat know real quick. All of your questions that are about the top 12, I'm going to get to them after we do our little bits here. So just know no question is going to go unanswered. If you guys are ready to move on from Achane, I'm ready to move on to a much more positive question. Not that we weren't very positive on Achane, but much like I did last week, I came up. Yeah, that's true. I came up with this question for quarterbacks last week, and I thought it would be a fun one to do for running backs as well. If I told you for sure that Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs would not be the RB1 this season, who is your pick from our top 12 to take the crown? And this doesn't need to be your RB3. And I think for one of us, it is our RB3. And I think that makes a ton of sense. We're going to save that for last. So Josh, I'm going to once again let you kick us off here. Saquon Barkley.
I mean, I've been preaching this. He's my RB3 this season. I think he has a massive bounce back from what was a predictive downfall, I guess you can call it, from rushing for over 2,000 yards. But new scheme, and this scheme plays so well for running backs. We saw Josh Jacobs launch in 2024 going from the Raiders to the Packers. It's a very similar scheme to what Christian McCaffrey uses in San Francisco. We've seen him be the RB1 overall twice in the last 3 seasons. Saquon Barkley is on that kind of level with CMC, with his ability as a returner, his breakaway ability, all of that. The Eagles still have a good offensive line when healthy. Of course, that's the biggest key. But I just think with what he's able to do through the air, on the ground, and he doesn't even need the air to be good on the ground. So, especially for fantasy. So you're talking about 12, 13, 14 plus touchdowns on top of 1,500 plus yards potentially, including another 500 plus receiving. I'm on board with Saquon as an upstart RB1 if those guys falter.
Austin, when you get that grin on your face, I realize I can't move on without letting you counter.
Oh, go ahead.
A little bit.
That's fine.
Oh, I'm actually laughing at the chat because Vince is throwing back to last week saying that he can't trust someone who needs a haircut.
Oh, yes. Josh fell out laughing when you were still in the middle of making your point.
No, my only rebut is I don't understand how Saquon Barkley can be RB1 and Jalen Hurts has a chance to be QB1 too. So to me, those just don't add up. But I'm not arguing.
Why can't it?
Pick.
I mean, we've seen.
When has it ever happened?
I mean, Hurts was the QB2 2 years ago.
It's not the QB.
I mean, Josh Allen and James Cook were what? Our QB1.
That's what I'm saying. Like, all it takes is the downfall of one person. Like, Lamar Jackson has gone nuclear, not because he throws a ton of passes, but because he's extremely efficient. If Jalen Hurts actually shows the level of efficiency, and he's been a 66, 67% passer, if they throw enough and Devonta Smith is as good as a lot of people think he can be, I don't see a reason how he can, especially when he has the ability to run for 15 touchdowns, because we've seen that before.
I just love stirring the pot because I'm
That's
hating.
Okay. I was like, I'm waiting. And don't worry, folks. Josh and Austin will soon be going at it again towards the end of this section.
I just truly though, like to me, because I'm with you, Josh. I think Saquon is in a position for a really stellar year. I do worry that he takes up so much space that Jalen Hurts' pass volume declines enough that he can't hit that QB1 upside. He'll still be a good quarterback, but
Smooth C brings up Hurts caps Saquon, but he didn't really cap him 2 years ago. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out this year. Joel, you're going with last year's rookie sensation who had the quietest top 10 season, I think, of anybody ever, because if you ask anybody, Ashton Genty was a disappointment last year.
Yeah, he was only a disappointment because of the opportunity cost, because, he went around guys like Derrick Henry and, Puka and guys who had just kind of really smash years. So, but if you look at what he did, their overall numbers were like, he had 1,300 yards from scrimmage and 10 touchdowns in the most abominable situation, just an unimaginably bad situation, like worse than the league offensive line play, worse than the league quarterback play. The only threat in the passing game was Hurt for most of the years because he was irresponsibly forced out onto the field by an out-of-touch head coach who had a mutiny on his hands from his offensive coordinator. Now you're getting an offensive coordinator from the Super Bowl champions coming in. You're getting a quarterback upgrade. I expect. I mean, it's tough to be as bad as Geno was last year. You get Colton Miller back on the offensive line. You get Tyler Linderbaum coming in at center. That's an absolute game changer. So, yeah, if that guy could put up 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns in the situation he was in last year, like, sky's the limit for what he can do in this situation this year.
Yep. And for me, I think this is the second week in a row, me and Vince Mapstone on the same page. It is Chase Brown. I was explaining this to Austin before the show. I put Chase Brown in here before even comparing my rankings, and it works out perfectly because the premise of the question is it can't be Gibbs and it can't be Bijan Robinson. And then I have my over volume concerns on Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor, and Chase Brown comes in as my RB5. And when I'm looking for somebody who I think can kind of take the world over and steal this RB1 spot, I want touchdown upside. Chase Brown has been as consistent as it comes over the last 2 seasons, 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. And both of those have been top 10 seasons. The Bengals offense looks legit. I mean, they always do, but they look legit. I think they're going to be able to run the ball a little bit better this year. Their defense should be improved, so they're not going to have to play Joe Burrow throws the ball 60 times every single game. All of these things should play into Chase Brown's favor. And if he is hitting 15 touchdowns, and if we're being real here in this offense, 15 touchdowns is doable, and higher than that is possible. And that's kind of what it's going to take to snatch the crown. And that's where I am with Chase Brown. Is I want the guy who has major upside, but is still just a very, very important piece of his offense. And that's what we're getting from Chase Brown. He's been the guy who can find the end zone since his rookie season. And that was before we even knew he was going to be good, but we saw enough out of him at the end of that season that we all wanted to draft him. I wanted to end on Austin and then start the next section on Josh, because we don't have a lot of contradiction. Actually, I just realized we have plenty of contradiction, because the next section, Austin contradicts me. I told you guys I was trying to find one more and I couldn't find what it was. So anyway, we're going to end this section on Austin, start the next one with Josh, and then we'll go to Austin so we can all just fight a little bit. So Austin, you picked somebody who I think all of us probably should have picked, but we all have a very specific reason we're not going to. Austin, who is your pick for who could steal, and I'm using that term very loosely, the RB1 spot?
It's Christian McCaffrey, because come on, when he is healthy, he is the RB1 or RB2 every year. And he is one of those guys, like, I would rather be a year too late than a year too early on. I will happily lose money betting on Christian McCaffrey because of how good he is. And to me, it's just like, he feels like a value because I'm getting him outside of the top 5 of drafts. Like, it's kind of ridiculous that the guy that has been the consensus number 1 running back for so long is going so cheaply. And I get it. He had a ton of carries last year, a ton of touches. That's not good for wear and tear. And there's chance of injury this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know I said with Achane, like, I'm betting on some injury risk. And so I'm out on him, but Christian McCaffrey, I feel like has such an elite upside that he's a guy that I'm willing to take that risk on. If he doesn't play 17 games, so be it. But if he does, then I'm going to be cashing in.
Yes. It's hard to argue with. Well, that was our section of who do you think could steal the RB1 spot. The very next section was the one I came up with, and that is, you are the lowest of us on this person. And Josh, you are by far the lowest of us on Christian McCaffrey. So this naturally lends itself to a counterpoint situation.
I mean, I've preached this all spring and summer. The 49ers are betting their offensive success on every single key player being 30 years or older. There are only 3 other running backs in the history. Go ahead.
I just realized what you're saying here. They've built their team how I build dynasty teams.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why you don't know how to rebuild, Ryan.
I was going to say they have a young quarterback and the rest of their team is ass, and it's not going to go well. Trust me.
But there are only 3 other running backs in the history of the NFL to have over 400 touches at 29 years of age or older. Christian McCaffrey was one. The other 3, Walter Payton, Tiki Barber, and Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin and Tiki Barber fell off a cliff the following year and retired. Walter Payton was the only one that went on and actually did an all-pro season. Again, we're talking about Walter Payton, and he did it all on the ground, not so much as a receiver. We have seen over the last 2 seasons massive regression from Christian McCaffrey as a runner. Is he still an elite pass catcher? 1,000%. But the only way that he survives this whole season, in my opinion, because the 49ers are already banged up, and we haven't even gotten to the first real week of preseason games.
Shout out to the substation.
Best new Twitter follower, by the way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. The only way is if they're utilizing Jordan James and Kalen Black much more on the ground than Christian McCaffrey, in my opinion. He needs to be a legitimate slot receiver for this offense. And if you're taking away that many carries, he's James White. And he's an elite James White. And James White wasn't close to RB1 or even a top 5 RB.
I don't see a situation where Christian McCaffrey is James White.
That is my point exactly. He's not going to be that. So I just don't see it. Like, I have him at RB12, and I know I'm criminally low on him, and people are going to come after me, and that's fine. Points per game, he's probably going to end up being RB6, 7, 8, something along those lines, if not better. But I want nothing to do with him in a season-long league, given he's coming off of 413 regular season touches. That's not even including the playoffs. Yeah. He's not built like Derrick Henry. He's not even 215 pounds. He's not even 210 pounds. And for a guy that's 29 years old, every single time he has a workload like this, he falls off a cliff. That's all I'm saying, folks.
Before I continue with the dragging him down, I do want to give a shout out to the chat. I asked who could steal the RB1 spot. Caesar says Derrick Henry is not someone we gave a lot of love to. And I think James Cook is a great one from Andrea as well, because that's another guy who can fall into the end zone 20 times. Yep. Yeah, so there's a lot going on there. I do want to continue this section, and Austin, I'm going to continue with you because it's kind of a counterpoint to my guy who could steal the RB1 spot. Again, it's not like you are criminally low, but you are the lowest among us on Chase Brown.
Yeah, and I was telling you before this, I think I am just like, there's something wrong with my brain where I just hate whoever the running back 1 is for the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, I was out on Joe Mixon for years and he was consistently an RB1. And now I just feel the same way about Chase Brown. There's something about it that sits wrong with me. I'm like, there can't be a good running back in Cincinnati because it's just not the way it goes. I think the other real thing though about it too is he ends up being like the RB6 last year by the end of the season. Mm-hmm. Over 20% of his fantasy points came in 2 games. And so he is being buoyed by a couple of 30-point games in the overall rankings. Now, that's part of it. That's like why you want him. He did it during the playoffs, so he won you a championship. But for me, I just overall, I'm kind of like, I feel like, and I think the thing is too, I feel like the Bengals feel like a fragile team to me. I feel like there's like such a floor potential for them. And I know, I know while I'm saying this, I'm probably going to be wrong because I always am wrong on Chase Brown and the Cincinnati Bengals running back. But there's something in my brain that just can't get behind it.
It's fair enough. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button there. Joel, Breece Hall again. And I want to be clear. I'm nitpicking here. None of us are criminally low. I don't think, now that I'm thinking about, none of them are even ranked out of our top 15 of the players I'm calling us out on. But I wanted to have fun with this section. Joel, why is the world a little too high on Breece Hall?
They're not.
Okay.
Like ECR is 14. I've got him at 15. The only guy non-consensus I have ahead of him is Travis Etienne, who I love this year. So,
and that's coming up in the next section. Joel, you really don't need to build on this because, again, I kept this in from last year's show and last week's show. Maybe this was just a bad section and I'm learning for it for next year. For me, I'll just quickly say Derrick Henry, who came up in the could be RB1. I don't see that ceiling from him anymore. And then the most important thing here, these are full PPR rankings, and Derrick Henry ain't that guy. Plain and simple. In full PPR, his 20 catches are keeping him capped at RB8. I'm sorry, folks. It's just the way it goes. The target.
Hey, you're reading my rankings, Ryan. I have him at RB8.
There you go. So let's move on from this section because, like I said, I realize now that's not the best. When nobody's low on anybody, man, it kind of loses its entertainment value, doesn't it? Let me start with Smooth C. This is something we spent a lot of time on. One of these guys is a wide receiver, but the other, actually, you know what? Jacobs is in our next section. Smooth C, we're coming back to you. This is a great question from Zach. Gibbs and Bijan, and Joel and Austin, I've had you guys explain this more than a couple of times on Mock It Like It's Hot. So I am going to start with you here, Josh. I believe, looking at the consensus, Joel does have Gibbs ahead. So Joel, I'll go to you last year. Josh, we all have Bijan ahead of Gibbs, and Joel, that could be a product of Fantasy Pros. We sometimes they move our rankings around a little bit.
I do have Gibbs.
Okay, there you go. So Josh, Bijan over Gibbs. What's your thought there?
Only one of these two guys has proven they can carry the rock for 300 times, and both of them have proven pass catching upside. Both of them have immense touchdown upside, and Bijan's just skyrocketed because he doesn't have Tyler Algier anymore, and he has Kevin Stefanski, who loves to run the football. This is easy Bijan for me. Let's also not forget this guy had 2,300 total yards last year. What are we missing? He outpaced Jahmyr Gibbs and doesn't have his number 2 the same way that Gibbs doesn't. I don't know. It's easy for me that Bijan over Gibbs.
Austin, still Bijan over Gibbs?
I mean, I'm just a biased Falcons fan, honestly. And
go.
I'll be honest about my bias, unlike some people on this show. I'm just kidding. No, I do agree with Josh, though. I think Stefanski coming in running that offense is big. And then, I feel like the RB2 is non-existent in Atlanta. The RB2, I could see it going a couple of different ways in Detroit. I wrote the article on Isaiah Pacheco.
Yes, you did.
I could see there being some touchdown upside there that takes away from Gibbs. But I think most importantly is, like Josh said, Bijan has shown the volume to get there. Gibbs, he needs to prove it this year.
And I'm going to be honest, for me, it's the Stefanski offense as well. When I do run these guys through my projections, I just project Bijan to get a little bit more work than Gibbs. And they're both elite running backs, so it only takes a little bit more work for a guy to rank ahead of another guy. Joel, you do have Gibbs ahead. Talk to us about it.
I just think it's a product of Detroit having just a tissue paper soft schedule. You got Drew Petzing coming in at offensive coordinator, who is a much better run designer, run play caller than he is off pass game play caller. That's been evident ever since he was underneath Stefanski in Cleveland. Just the Cardinals were always just better at running the ball than throwing the ball. He could never design stuff for Kyler. I think, and they're going to have such an incredibly soft schedule that, obviously they're in the toughest division in the league. There's no question about that, but their non-conference schedule or non-division schedule. It's just crazy soft. Pacheco's already hurt. They have no backup running back. You guys talk about Bijan getting more work. Where's the evidence for that? Gibbs could get a ton of carries. He got 94 targets last year. He's involved in the pass game.
No Sam Laporta last year.
Okay,
Sam Laporta being healthy, he's not going to see 90 targets this year.
Okay.
Josh, you sound so angry.
I'm just saying.
He is the closest team to Christian McCaffrey that is not Christian McCaffrey.
Whoa. Bijan Robinson, come on, is in there.
I mean, they're built different. I kind of get where Joel's going.
Also, according to Matt Rule, it's Emmett Johnson. Don't you know that, Joel?
Obviously.
Fair. Good point.
Great point from Smooth C here. As someone who typically falls hook, line, and sinker for coach speak, Josh McDaniel has kind of made it clear, or excuse me,
Mike
McDaniel. Josh is in New England and there's an S at the end. Mike McDaniel has made it clear that the Chargers are going to use a committee. So should that be affecting Omari and Hampton's stock? I have the privilege of being around some very smart people at Football Guys. And apparently McDaniel said this like same shit before De'Von Achane just took the fuck over. So this is a bit of coach speak I am not buying into, mainly because Omari and Hampton is just better than Kamani Vidal and Keaton Mitchell. There's just nothing here for me whatsoever. Does anybody want to jump in on this?
I thought you were going to say you were hanging out with some really smart people right now, but that's cool that your smart people work for a different company.
No, stop it. They're the ones who showed me the quote about Mike McDaniel. That's the only point I was trying to make.
Just like who's the one who's more likely to have the hot hand? The guy who was a number 1 draft pick for your team last season, or 2 guys who were barely drafted at all?
Yeah.
It's just, please, I hope his stock drops.
I was going to say the Chargers have cut and re-signed and cut and re-signed Kamani Vidal like 5 times. And Keaton Mitchell's been hurt like 2 of his 4 seasons that he's played. It's Hampton. And look, and I wasn't the biggest like Hampton person coming out of college. Like, I thought he was okay. I didn't see the first round draft capital, but you can't sit here and tell me that a running back in a Mike McDaniel system that has first round draft capital that a team is clearly going to feature doesn't have RB1 upside.
I almost picked Omarion Hampton instead of Christian McCaffrey for who has the RB1 upside over Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs.
The overall RB1 upside, folks.
Yeah.
All right. That is 40 minutes of the show just on our top 12. So we're going to try to push through some of this. So we're going to be here all night. We are going to talk about our RB2s as well. So I'm going to break those down for you. I'll let you know if there's any big differences from the ECR when I'm finished. So at 13, we have Kyron Williams. 14 is Jeremiah Love. Kenneth Walker is 15. Keep in mind, this is our consensus top 24, just so we're aware. Josh Jacobs comes in at 16. Javonte Williams at 17. Travion Henderson at 18. Travis Etienne at 19. DeAndre Swift at 20. Bucky Irving at 21. David Montgomery at 22. Cam Scattaboo, much to the chagrin of the chat, at 23. Quinshon Judkins at 24. I would say our only major difference here. We are much higher on Travion Henderson than the consensus. He is our RB 18. The consensus puts him at RB 24. Everything else is well in line, except I guess we're equally low on Scattaboo, who is 23 in our ranking and 19. So basically we have flipped those two in our rankings. I'm going to come back to that for the chat questions at the end of this section. But with this section, I wanted to start with, once again, that we're moving people up. And I want to get started, Josh, with someone asked a question in the chat about, and we'll come to the question after you get to talk here. Josh Jacobs, you are by far the highest of our group on Josh Jacobs. And I'm talking, he is a top 12 running back for you based on the Fantasy Pros consensus PPR rankings.
Yeah, I mean, it's his system. He keeps getting fed the football. I think losing a lot of those wide receivers purposely truncates that target tree. But also, none of those guys, Watson, Reed, and Matthew Golden, have proven either healthy in the case of Watson and Reed or effective in the case of Golden. So that there's still pass catching upside here for Josh Jacobs that continually exists year after year that he's been here. While I do agree that his efficiency has decreased some, he continues to score touchdowns. So when you factor in the ability to have 50 plus targets on top of 10, 12 plus touchdowns, I don't see how that's not a top 12 running back. I understand the looming suspension could potentially affect this, and that's fine. But until he actually does get suspended, I'm going to rank him this high.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And so then I'm going to kick to this question for the group. Josh is clearly not worried until it happens. Obviously, there's now been Puka rumors, though I've heard Adam Schefter may have been a little irresponsible throwing that out there. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think there's an actual chance Puka's getting suspended based on everything I'm hearing. But regardless, Austin, Joel, are we worried about Jacob specifically for the RB show? And you can throw in your 2 cents on Puka as well.
I'm not worried about Puka at all. I'm I'm not worried about Jacobs being suspended. I'm worried about Jacobs being bad. I'm out on Jacobs.
Again, fair assessment. He has regressed, but again, a lot of my reasoning here is when he has these heavy workloads, he does, come back down to earth a little bit. Heavy workload 2024, he came back down to earth a little bit. He bounces back. Obviously, he is a little bit older, so maybe he doesn't bounce back. But this is just how this game is played with these running backs. When they have these downs or these high touch seasons, they tend to bounce back. So I don't know. Again, we're dealing with a first round talent with Jacobs, so I'd like to think
I'm with you on the touchdowns. That's really the only thing carrying him right now. He didn't even rush for 1,000 yards last year. He's going to turn 29 soon, like 6 months or something like that. He's got a ton of wear on those tires, a lot of touches over the history of his career. He hurt his knee in week 11 on the Meadowlands or whatever turf, which everyone
the Jersey concrete.
Yeah, but he never came back. He was never 100% after that, and that was week 11. He never bounced back from that. So yeah, I'm just worried about the dings. And Ryan, we talked about this on the mock draft show. Everything that's coming out of Green Bay is they are going to throw more. They are not going to be as heavy a negative pass rate over expectation team. And LaFleur even came out and said I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, we need to play faster. I mean, that is music to my ears as a Packer fan and as a Packer passing game bull this year. They are going to play faster this year. So I think LaFleur has gotten the memo. He needs to coach the team he has instead of the team he wants to be. I think he got that memo.
And Austin, any concerns on these two?
No, I've become a cynic on this fact. The NFL doesn't care, so I think they'll both be fine. And I'm out on Jacob. I'm down on Jacobs for some of the reasons as Joel. I just think he's not going to be that good this year. Puka's going to be solid. He will probably miss 2 or 3 games because he always does, and so you just got to bake that down a little bit. But he's still going to probably win you every week that he is starting in your lineup.
Austin, I'm going to let you continue for us here. Bucky Irving cracks your top 15 when he does not make any of our top 20. This is music to our good friend Gator J's ears, who has been very pro Bucky Irving and the Buccaneers this offseason.
Yeah, and I'm going to be talking out of both sides of my mouth here because I am down on De'Von Achane, I'm down on Chase Brown, but I'm higher than everybody else in Bucky Irving. It doesn't make sense.
There's also within reason. You're higher at RB14. It's not like they're top 10 backs for you. So
yeah, and that's part of it. And I think part of it is because I feel like Bucky Irving, he does have potential to go from being a high-end RB2 to a low-end RB1. So I like that value for him, particularly again, my brain gets biased by best ball at this time of year. There were times that I was trying a 0 RB strategy and I got Bucky Irving as my first running back because he kept falling on ADP. And I'm like, because the thing about him is he is in consensus is a mid-range RB2, but at times he falls to the end of the second tier of running backs. And so for me, I'm like, there's got to be some upside here. There's no more Rashad White who would vulture touchdowns from him at times. It's him and it's Sean Tucker. I love Sean Tucker, don't get me wrong, but the fact that they didn't go out of their way to get some extra help in the running back room makes me feel like this is Bucky Irving's running back room, and he's going to have the potential to really take a 3-down back role and hit that back end RB1 status.
Joel, I saved you and I for last because I know my answer is boring. And based on your reaction to the pre-show, I think your answer might be kind of boring as well. So I'm just going to quickly say I'm highest on Kyren Williams because the man scores touchdowns. I'm not worried about Blake Corum like everybody else. Kyren Williams isn't going anywhere in this offense. Joel, you were relatively shocked to find that you were the highest on Kenneth Walker because you don't even feel like you're that high on Kenneth Walker, and you already threw him under the bus in the PPR discussion earlier in this show. So I don't know if you want to defend Kenneth Walker or if it's just really me and you saying, look, these guys are who we think they are. It's not Kyren Williams is the RB13. He's my RB12. I'm not high on him. I'm just higher than you guys. So
yeah, I was honestly stunned to find I was the highest on Walker because I'm not even that high.
Exactly.
I think, he's got the ceiling to have a peak Nick Chubb season, and that's really good.
Yeah.
But, if I don't think there's any scenario where Patrick Mahomes runs anywhere near what he did last year coming off the ACL. So I think they will try to feed him. I do not for a minute buy that he's going to be useful in the passing game. I've seen too much of him be terrible.
You've been saying that from the day he signed there, and even more so after the draft because you liked Emmett Johnson going there. So
yeah, so I know they keep saying they're going to use him in the passing game. I've seen Ken Walker in the passing game. He's not good. He can't block. He can't catch the ball. He can't stay on the field for 17 games. So yeah, it's hard for me to make a case for him when I'm so down.
He literally did last year.
I was gonna say this got very negative for someone you're the highest on. So again, Ryan's gonna do better on the show sheet.
I see the 15 touchdown. I see the 15 touchdown upside. I get it.
There we go. And that's what I said about him as well.
Yeah.
Let's jump into dragging him down, because this one's actually interesting, because every one of these guys we have ranked outside of our top 25. And I'm going to actually start with Austin on this one because it came up in the question. So we're already very low on Cam Scatterbo. Austin is the lowest. And Smooth C wants to know why the fuck he's not in our top 12. So Austin, maybe you can speak for all of us why he is nowhere near our top 12.
Well, it is definitely my fault because he is my RB27.
Yeah.
So first off, he's sharing a backfield with Tyrone Tracy, and I have concerns about him playing a full season. I have concerns about him playing more than 12 games, frankly. He's already been banged up during training camp. He was banged up during the season last year. Add on to that I don't know how good this Giants team is going to be. I get it. They got John Harbaugh there, but I just am like, I don't believe in the Giants to be a good offensive ecosystem. I think they're going to be playing from behind, and I think that's not going to be conducive to Scatterbo performing well from a fantasy perspective.
Scatterbo feels like that guy we're always going to be saying, man, if this dude played 16 games, he would be so good.
Like I like him when he plays, and I have him on some dynasty leagues, but I don't think he's going to play a full season. And between him and Dart, I'm like, both of these guys are going to miss time, I'm sure, throughout the season, and that's going to impact their upside.
I am by far our lowest on Quinshon Judkins, and you can literally copy and paste everything Austin just said. They basically had the same gruesome injury. I don't trust the Browns offense. I hope he's good. I like Quinshon Judkins, the player. I understand there's some red flags there about Quinshon Judkins, the person, but the player looked really good on the field last year, Cam Scatterbo-esque, and I'm just not bought in right now. I want to end with Josh because his is one of the crazier ones. And Joel, this was a nice little counterpoint to Austin's pro Bucky. You are our lowest on Bucky. And again, none of us are terribly low, but you do have him as your RB29 right now.
Yeah, I just think we saw the best we'll ever see from Bucky in that rookie year. I just don't think he's that good a player. He was not an elite prospect. He had a terrible combine, did not test well at all. Hasn't been able to stay healthy. I don't think he's that good. I don't think we're ever going to see anything close to what he did in his rookie season.
Austin,
to counter Austin's point, they did make adjustments to the running back room. They brought in Kenny Gainwell, who had a pretty good season last year, and they're already talking him up as the primary pass down back. So, at cost in best ball, I would much rather have Gainwell right now.
There's my zero RB guy. Josh, I'm convinced you just wanted to show the world your French accent. Because I was low on Travis Etienne, but my goodness, you, my friend, are at RB28. And I just want to remind the world as I scroll up here, the consensus on him is RB18. We have him at RB19, and that's with Josh having him as RB28. You're not a fan of the Creole homecoming for Travis Etienne?
I mean, I'm fine with him as a player. I was a big fan of his when he was in Jacksonville. He knows how to score touchdowns. I mean, he scored over 80 at Clemson. But I think that I would be higher on him if Alvin Kamara weren't there. And I think that, and it's not even because I think that Kamara is this all-world player still, but they're going to have very set roles. Etienne is going to be the 1-2 down guy. He's not going to be catching passes. And quite frankly, Kellen Moore's offenses don't throw to the running backs the way that a lot of other teams do, or especially the way that Jacksonville did. So I think that alone drastically drags Etienne's fantasy value down. So he needs to score 10 plus touchdowns. Honestly, he probably needs to score 12 or 13 touchdowns, which if we expect Tyler Shuck to take the type of leap that many of us are predicting, maybe that comes to fruition. And I know I'm too low. I'm going to preface this. I know I'm very low, but there's also going to be a lot of these guys that I have ranked ahead of HN that are probably going to get hurt, miss some time, etc. So, but I don't see him as a top 12 guy, top 15 guy, the way that a lot of other fantasy pundits do. I think he's probably more in the 21 to 26 range, if I'm being honest.
I think that's absolutely fair. That is going to wrap up our talk on top 24. I'm going to try to make the end of the show go a little bit quicker, just because I don't want to keep you guys here all night. But I call the end of the show sleepers, and really there's only 2 questions for here, and then we end on my always favorite question. And really, I just want to give you guys a chance to talk about guys who are not in our top 24. So my first question here was, I went all the way outside of top 30. I wanted you guys to let some folks know, who are your favorite 2 running backs not currently in our top 30. So guys that probably aren't even in the consensus top 30 that players should keep an eye out for. And you know what? We all agree on everybody except for Joel. So Joel, why don't you go ahead and give us your 2 names, and then we'll get real boring to end the section.
We just talked about Kenny Gainwell, who I think is going to be the primary passing down back in Tampa, and I think will eventually usurp the RB1 role from Bucky. I also said Marshawn Lloyd. I've made this point a few times and I get savage for it, but I don't think it's incorrect. There is literally no difference between Marshawn Lloyd and Jonathan Brooks. They are the exact same player. There's just 100 points or 100 spots of ADP in between them. Actually, Marshawn Lloyd is kind of skyrocketing up ADP in best ball right now. He's going in the 150s. He was going in the 190s. So that is, well, it was contracting, but now Jonathan Brooks is moving up as well. They're the exact same player. They were elite prospects of a bad class. I thought Jonathan Brooks was a better prospect, but other people thought Lloyd was the best prospect. They were drafted both in the second day 2. They were drafted 20 picks apart. Neither one of them has shown anything at the NFL level. Neither one has been able to practice. So we're basically just going off on talent. But if Jonathan Brooks is going at pick 83, it just makes no sense. I think that's more of a Jonathan Brooks comment than a Marshawn Lloyd comment. But
I was going to say,
they should be coming together.
I'm now seeing I should have had Joel go last here if I would have realized that was going to be his point, because the rest of us all really like Brooks. Josh, I'm going to let you get started because you mentioned him by name. So.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between Brooks and Lloyd, one of them actually has a good running back in front of him. The other one doesn't. Chuba Hubbard got replaced by Rico Dowdle last year. So to me, Jonathan Brooks has a clearer path to actually getting meaningful touches earlier versus Lloyd, who is still firmly behind Josh Jacobs, in my opinion, regardless of whether you think that Josh Jacobs is flat out dust. Because the only way that Lloyd is going to see meaningful work is if Jacobs is suspended or flat out hurt. Tyrone Tracy.
I was getting real higher on Lloyd when I thought Jacobs was going to get suspended. Now I'm
and I mean, that's fair, because I'm going to bring up my points on Lloyd a little bit later. But Tyrone Tracy, pretty simple. He filled in pretty well for Cam Scatterbo last year. What have we seen from this knucklehead that makes us think that he's going to play a full season? Because he's coming off of a pretty gruesome leg injury and doing fucking backflips on WWE. He can't get out of his own way. He's going to produce when he's healthy. Tyrone Tracy's going to be a league winner for a lot of people.
Yeah. I can't remember who, but somebody gave me hell about being in on Tyrone Tracy last year. And I wish I could roll the clip to find out if it was Josh.
It probably was me, honestly. It probably was.
Definitely not me, because I have been that Tyrone Tracy guy from. I'll never forget the show where I introduced Joe Zolo to Tyrone Tracy, and he literally wrote in the show sheet, "Who?"
Yeah.
And I had to explain to him who Tyrone Tracy was, and I have been quite right. And
the difference is the maniacal play style of Cam Scatterbo plays well in college. It doesn't in the NFL.
I don't think it's a coincidence when you look at everybody who's been mentioned so far. There's some question marks about the guys in front of them. Austin, you've went with some guys where there's really not a ton of question marks about the guys in front of them, but maybe there's still enough work to go around. So.
Well, and I think part of this too is I made a rule that you didn't give us, Ryan, that I wasn't going to go too far down ADP. So Marshawn Lloyd was off my board for this question because in a redraft league, you're likely not drafting him because you're probably not getting that far down in ADP to need to draft him. So I kind of capped it. And the last guy that I was like, this is somebody I might take with my last pick was Isaiah Pacheco. I think in part, first off, if Jahmyr Gibbs gets hurt, it is Pacheco's backfield at that point.
Austin, make sure you skipped a question, Austin. We're talking about your Ramondre Stevenson, Kyle Monangai. I was like, I don't think his story makes sense for what I'm looking for right here.
That's
these are your favorite guys just outside of our top 30.
Well, the rule still applied. So the initial
does.
principle was there.
Yeah.
And then I went sideways. Yeah. So Ramondre Stevenson, look, Josh McDaniels is going to run multiple running backs is my thing with it. It's not going to be Travion Henderson at 3-down back. I wish it was. I think he can do it. I would love it. But as long as Josh McDaniels is the coordinator, it's not happening. And so Ramondre Stevenson's going to still have a role there. He's going to have weeks where he pops. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes as an RB2 this year. The second one is Kyle Monangai. And it's just because I love watching him run the ball. I think
he is a fun guy to watch.
He's a fun running back. And I started watching him when he was playing it for Rutgers. I was like scouting that game and was really into what was going on there. So great times there. And it's similar as that, it's the Chicago Bears offensive situation with Ben Johnson. He'll use both running backs. So there will be weeks where Monangai pops. And we know DeAndre Swift, like he'll miss games. And so to me, like having that Monangai stash there is really nice for me.
To no surprise, mine's Jonathan Brooks. To maybe a lot of people's surprise, unless you have drafted with me this season, my other guy is Alvin Kamara. I have been adding him in so many drafts, and I see Austin giving me the finger, and he's just not he's not in, and I get it. And I'm going to be honest, Josh, you deflated my balloon a little bit on your last question when you're like, they don't really throw to the running back very much. And I'm like, I literally have him and Etienne both projected for 50 targets. So this could all just blow up in my face. But in my PPR rankings, I have given Kamara very modest 100 carries, 50 targets, and he is still my RB39. In a full PPR league, I'm willing to buy in. And if Etienne misses time, Kamara, while certainly taking a step back last season, still has something left in the tank. And I think there's something interesting there for this offense. But I get why I'm the only one drafting him. And it appears I am the only one drafting him. I don't know what his ADP is right now, but
you're keeping it afloat, Ryan.
Exactly.
Kudos. Yeah. Alvin Kamara would be proud.
We're going to move into the next question, and this is one I always add for the running backs and wide receivers, so you will hear this exact question next week for the wide receiver show. And I think this is a great question for folks because everyone wants to know when you get to that 13th, 14th, 15th round pick, who should you take a flyer on? Who is your lottery ticket? And that is exactly what I asked these guys to give me. If your last pick of the draft has to be a running back, who would that be for you? I wanted ADP factored in here, so they had to choose somebody who is currently outside of the ADP top 150. So, Josh, I found it interesting. You give Joel a little bit of pushback on Marshawn Lloyd, but he's your favorite last round pick of the.
Well, again, if you're talking top 30, to me, that's more than a last pick. That's kind of where I'm getting at, because with my last pick at running back, I will 100% take a guy that has literally no value until the starter gets hurt.
Yeah.
And for me, like, you're walking in with a Marshawn Lloyd, a Tank Bigsby. If Barkley goes down, if Josh Jacobs goes down, both those guys are probably top 12, maybe even top 8 running backs because of how their teams will utilize their starters. And to Joel's point, there really isn't much difference between Marshawn Lloyd and Jonathan Brooks. It literally is just who is in front of them.
Yeah.
Skill-wise, I think they're pretty well similar. Tank Bigsby showed last year, that dude's a fucking dog in this offense with Philly. And running behind a beat-up offensive line, he was averaging 5.8 yards per carry. Now imagine if that offensive line is healthy.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine throwing darts on either of those guys.
Joel, you gave us sorry, Austin, go ahead.
I was just going to say, since I spoiled my answer already, that's the exact reason I picked Isaiah Pacheco, is because it's one of those situations. If the guy ahead of him goes down, he's going to get a ton of carries. And I think with Pacheco too, there's a chance that he does get more touches than Jahmyr Gibbs managers might want, because we've seen the Lions really do that in the past. And if he has a few games here and there, like if you're in the middle of bye weeks and you're forced to play Pacheco and he scores 2 touchdowns that game, great. That was worth it for me.
Yeah. Joel, I'm going to let you go last because you have a rookie and yours is probably the most interesting of the group. My favorite last round pick, and this has been, again, someone whose ADP I'm keeping afloat, Dylan Sampson. There's a number of things working for me here. The Quinshon Judkins injury, I don't trust him to come back, plain and simple. I know he's supposed to be fine, but I think things could go wrong. Then you look at the Todd Monken offense that kept the kid in Baltimore, whose name is leaving me right now, afloat. Justice Hill, thank you. Kept him afloat. Dylan Sampson is an equal player to Justice Hill and showed chops as a pass receiving back last year. I think there's a ton of work up for grabs at running back in this Cleveland offense. And the main competition right now is Rocket Sanders, an undrafted free agent at running back. So I think the fact that they added Judkins and Sampson in last year's draft is going to be very important this season. And you have Judkins coming back from this pretty gruesome injury. Don't sleep on Dylan Sampson as a probably high volume asset this late in the draft, Josh.
Yeah, one of my favorite points with Dylan Sampson, he actually led all running backs in the NFL last year in yards per route run. So he's got the ability as a pass catcher. And when you're taking these flyers late in the drafts, like you need an emergency flex play, you want to target running backs that have pass catching ability.
Yep. And then, Joel, like I said, you picked a rookie, but not only did you pick a rookie, you picked a rookie where the whole rest of the world is talking about the two guys in front of him. So maybe you know something we don't. Break it down for us.
Yeah, I took Jonah Coleman in Denver, who I didn't even love as a prospect. I thought he was fine, but he wasn't like one of my guys or anything. J.K. Dobbins is already on soft tissue injury number 1. He dodged that bullet, but how many bullets is he going to dodge this year? Not all of them. That's for
Come on, man. Don't you know he's a cat who's got 9 lives?
I love J.K. Dobbins. I do, but we have to acknowledge objective reality. He's not going to make it through a season. No. They've proven that they do not like RJ Harvey. They do not trust him. They don't like him, whatever it is. Like, they had a championship game at home and they wouldn't even give him touches last year. And they drafted another running back. Coleman can kind of do it all. I think it's only a matter of time before he is the starter and maybe a very heavy workload starter in a very good offense.
One of my favorite things, Josh and I kind of came to the conclusion on our Denver Broncos episode, was that the perfect thing about Coleman is if either back gets hurt, he's going to fill in for that back. Like if it's Harvey goes down, he's going to be the pass catcher and kind of the electric guy. If it's Dobbins who goes down, he's going to be the high volume guy. The other guy's role is probably not going to change. And that's great for Coleman because he has a role. You're just waiting on an injury. And one of those guys, very injury prone.
And we've heard good things about him in camp.
The
reporting on him has been very good. So.
All right, folks, we are ready to wrap up the running back episode. When we started doing these episodes 4 years ago, I came up with one question that I think is the perfect way to end every one of these episodes. And that is, who are your 3 perfect running backs this season? And you can't say Jahmyr, Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, and Christian McCaffrey because you can't draft all 3 of those guys. So I made these guys factor in ADP. And if you ever wanted proof that robust RB is the way to go, everybody has running backs you have to take in the 1st and 2nd round, maybe 2nd and 3rd if you're lucky. I will get started because I'm the only one who is going to tell you, go running back 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round. So to get my guys, you are going to take 2 of them ahead of ADP. And that is Chase Brown in your 1st round, Jeremiah Love in your 2nd round, and then Kyren Williams at ADP in your 3rd round. We've talked about most of these guys. With Love, I see him kind of as a Kyren Williams clone, and it might be one of these things where he's Kyren Williams 2.0, not an actual clone. He is in an offense that has made Kyren Williams famous, and he's a better running back than Kyren Williams. I don't know if Arizona is going to be close to the team the Rams are. In fact, I know they're not going to be. There's a future for Love in Arizona. It's going to be really, really bright, but I even think for this season, I'm willing to take the gamble. Along those same lines, Josh, you went with 3 guys you have to draft pretty early in the draft as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is assuming that I end up with probably like a middle back end 1st round pick. But for me, it's Saquon, Derrick Henry, Breece Hall. I'm perfectly fine going running back in the 2nd round or maybe in the 3rd, but that 1st round pick 100% is going to be a running back. I've already said I'm super high on Saquon this year. He's my RB3, and I know that I'm probably higher on him than everybody else in this industry, quite honestly. So, but Derrick Henry, I think, is just, he's more expensive Kyren Williams, but he is the steady Eddie at running back. I mean, the last 4 years, he's finished 2nd in the NFL in rushing, literally every year for the last 4 years. This is just what he does. He turns out 1,500-yard rushing seasons like it's just like waking up and making scrambled eggs and bacon for breakfast. Like, it's just what you do. This is what Derrick Henry does. And for me, I keep getting a value at Breece Hall. Like everybody's like out on him. And for as much as I don't, yeah, I did.
If you ever want to know if we practice what we preach here at Club Fantasy, we do.
But like, it's either the third round or the fourth round where I'm getting Breece Hall. Like, I get it. He's a Jet. Cool. Frank Reich, I'm not a huge fan. I think he probably gets fired by the end of the season or before the season even ends. He will feed his running back. They went out and they signed him. They're going to feed Breece Hall.
Austin and Joel, you guys kind of have the same guys. I'm going to let Joel close out the show. So Austin, talk to me about when I say same guys, I mean round value. You guys have very different players. Austin, talk to me about the 3 guys that would be your perfect ADP strategy at running back.
Yeah, I mean, similar thinking. I want to start with Saquon. Like Josh said, he has the potential to be an RB1. If I didn't pick CMC, I would have picked Saquon. I really like him this year. And part of the reason I picked the players I did is because I could take Saquon in the first round, get a receiver in the second round, and then probably still get Kyron Williams in the third round.
Absolutely.
Who is totally like acceptable for me. Like he's a very boring pick. And people don't want to draft him, but he's consistently an RB1. And then similar line of thinking, if I go that route in my first 3 rounds, I probably have a round or 2 where I can get receivers or maybe get a little Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland action, and then come back with Tony Pollard, who is still going outside of the top 24 by ADP, but he continues to finish inside the top 24 every year. I wrote about it earlier in the summer. He is consistently a back-end RB2. It's a very boring pick. I don't think Tajay Spears or Nick Singleton are taking over that backfield this year. It's Tony Pollard.
I just want to throw out for Austin, when he says he wrote about it earlier this summer and you go to our website and look for the Tony Pollard article, you won't find it because Austin started an article talking about Tajay Spears and it turned into a I prefer Tony Pollard article. So
it was the worst decision ever made. I messaged Josh and Ryan afterwards and said, please remind me to never write about Tajay Spears again.
Yeah. So
I was going to say, isn't that 2 straight years that you wrote about Tajay Spears?
Austin's Tony Pollard article is titled Tajay Spears. Joel, bring us home.
It was actually, sorry, this is totally not relevant and just extending the amount of time that we're here. It was a reverse jinx trick because if you have followed my Look Inside articles, I always pick players and they always suck that year.
There you
go.
go.
So if I pick Tajay Spears, he can suck and Tony Pollard can work out.
I love that. Joel, bring us home with the most surprising top 3. I wish I would have remembered to look at last year's to see if you picked like 3 0 RB guys, but you definitely did not go that route this year because Joel, to get your guys, you're going running back in round 1 and round 2.
Yeah, honestly, I wish I would have said Travis Etienne so he could counter all the nonsense slander against him. But you said ADP. Like I've got Genty at player 5 in my rankings. I can get him at the end of the first, so I love that. I've got HN as a 1-2 turn kind of player right now in best ball. You can get him at like picks 18 through 20, something like that, which is just way overreaction to the Dolphins FUD. And then I've got Rico Dowdle, who I think like. It's nothing against Jalen Warren, but we've seen multiple coaching staff say that this guy cannot be a main, 3-down grinder. He can't. He's a pass down back. Rico, I've made this point 1,000 times. Rico Dowdle is just damn good. He's a good player. We need to acknowledge that. He's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, despite not being the nominal starter going into each of the last 2 seasons. He was a DFS god last year. And we're already hearing that he's going to be the 60% snap share touch the guy in Pittsburgh. And he's going to play with Mike McCarthy, who we had his first breakout season under. So yeah, I'm fully aboard the Rico Dowdle train this year.
And Joel, we have 30 seconds. And I think oh wait, Josh, do you have something to
I was going to say, I have Joel's perfect 0 RB strategy from last year. If you want to pull it up.
What do you got?
Well, not so much perfect because all of them this time. Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins, Braylon Allen.
I just wanted to be clear, though. They were all guys you could take late, and he went the other route. So.
Yeah. Did not work well last year. So
30 seconds to defend Mr. Creole, Travis Etienne. So why are we all so wrong that you wanted to defend him?
Kellen Moore's offense plays very fast. They're going to have an elite offensive line, assuming they don't suffer any more injuries. I just think it's going to be a really good offense. Alvin Kamara was one of the worst players. Sorry, Ryan. He was one of the worst players in the league last year.
That's fair.
If you give him 100 rushes, he might go rough 350 yards. He was terrible last year. He's not even that much involved in the passing game. I don't think Travis Etienne is a great player. I think he's a good player in a great situation.
Okay. I think everybody's happy. That is going to wrap up the running back. I was quiet to see if anybody was going to give.
I was about to say, I thought you froze for a second. I'm like, the Wi-Fi finally gave out after 75 minutes.
75 minutes. Yeah. I was going to close out this show. It's been a long one, so I'm just going to get us out of here. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to Josh, Joel, and Austin for getting their rankings into the website. Remember, you can find all of these rankings at clubfantasyffl.com. We have a little rankings hub. Our rookie rankings are still available on the site. I think I'm the only one doing best ball rankings right now, but they are on there. And then we do have now rankings for quarterback and running back from the full consensus. And then Austin's just coming along with us every single week. So you'll see his wide receiver rankings next week when we introduce the wide receiver ranking show. It's going to be very similar to this show, except we'll definitely break down our entire top 36 at wide receiver because you plain and simply have to start more of those guys. That is going to wrap up this show. Please make sure you're following Club Fantasy on all the socials at Club Fantasy FFL. Ton of new articles on the website. All of this look inside series we've been doing on the YouTube channel. There is a article on the website as well. V-Range, you have literal seconds to get your question in. I'm going to count down from 10. I better see your damn Twitch question. So we're trying to get out of here. 9, 8. Come on, man. Get it in there.
Type fast.
You're taking too long. Oh, my God. Nope, can't do it. We'll answer you in the chat. Everybody else, V-Range, come back next week. We always end the show at 10:15. Oh,
double flex. Here we go.
Oh, my starting strategy.
That's a very ambiguous question.
You can still ask the question in the chat. I'll hang around in the chat room for a little bit. Oof. We're getting out of here. Always remember, defense wins championships. Offense wins fantasy football. We'll see you next week for wide receiver.